This document isn't about guilt. It's about responsibility, and those aren't the same thing. For people who don't think Kohberger did it, this complaint does not magically settle that question. What it does instead is split the issue between criminal guilt and institutional responsibility, two things that are often conflated but legally and practically distinct. Here's how that camp is likely to read it. First, a civil complaint is not a finding of fact. It's an argument, a carefully constructed one, written to survive motions and apply pressure toward settlement. The families are saying WSU knew or should have known. That language matters. It speaks to foreseeability and negligence, not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Second, even if every allegation in the complaint were true, it does not require Kohberger to be the killer. It requires only that WSU viewed him as dangerous, unsettling, or escalating. You can be deeply alarming and still not be a murderer. Plenty of people are walking red flags who never cross that final line. That's an ugly truth, but it's a real one. Third, skeptics will point out that this document relies heavily on after-the-fact framing. Once a suspect is named, prior behavior is reinterpreted through a single lens. Awkward becomes predatory. Complaints become warnings. Bureaucratic inertia becomes deliberate indifference. Some of that reframing may be justified. Some of it may simply be hindsight bias doing what it always does. Fourth, the absence issues don't disappear. For those already unconvinced, this complaint does nothing to explain the lack of victim DNA in his car, apartment, office, or belongings. It doesn't resolve timeline disputes, noise reports, or unresolved forensic gaps. Civil filings don't answer those questions. Criminal evidence does, or it fails to. Here's where it gets more complicated. Even if someone believes Kohberger is innocent, this complaint still functions as a warning about systems. Universities, police, workplaces, institutions in general have a long history of mishandling threat assessment when the threat is socially awkward rather than overtly violent. They wait for catastrophe, then express shock when it arrives. That failure can exist regardless of who ultimately committed the crime. So you're left with three uncomfortable possibilities occupying the same space. 1. Kohberger did it, and WSU ignored escalating danger. 2. Kohberger didn't do it, but WSU still mishandled someone who frightened people and failed its duty of care. 3. Everyone is partially wrong, partially right, and the truth is messier than any headline or complaint can contain. People who doubt his guilt will cling to the gaps. People who believe he's responsible will see the complaint as confirmation. The document feeds both narratives. That's why it's volatile.